All right. So, Designers Diamond, episode 3, here we go. Before we kick this off, I want you to listen to the words of the song.
Got my feet off the ground. From summer to autumn, like a flower I blossom. Then look what I found. Got my family so proud, and the music is so loud that they can't turn it down. Yeah. Putting on for my hometown, give my heart and my soul now, aiming straight for the clouds. Why do I hear voices in my head? Just take a deep breath and stay out of my head. I've been through so much with no luck, but I'm never giving up. Stay out of my head. This isn't my first time struggling through hard times. Stay out of my head. I've been through so much with no luck, but I'm never giving up. Stay out of my head. This isn't my first time caught up in a rut, but I need some luck. I'm looking for my diamond. Said I'm looking for my diamond.
Now, I played that first part of the song. I highly recommend you listen to it. But I think of all of you, I think everybody on the entrepreneurial journey, when you get in a rut and you're in your own head, and sometimes, you know, and no pun intended, this is a Designer Diamond course. We want to turn your charcoal, your down in the dirt story to a golden, beautiful, sparkly diamond of glory. But you notice that a lot of the times it all pans out to being the thoughts that are in your head. And you want to make sure that you stay focused and you stay on track. So we're going to get into this information again. I thank all of you for tuning in. I really appreciate you. The first thing that, and we're going to go into some really simple, basic things, but everything that seems simple and basic, because we want to keep it simple and basic, are the things that really move the needle and help you the most in your business. So number one thing that was always shared and always reviewed is the controllables versus the uncontrollables, right? You can't control the rain. You can't control, the snow, but you can control if you're wearing a snow wardrobe or jacket, or if you have an umbrella, if you get rained on or snowed on. And I think this is so huge to a lot of us moving along, when things change and things that you don't have no control on. And the three things you want to focus on is simply is one, and this is going to be a topic of tonight's or this episode, whole parameters, is attitude, right? Attitude. And you're going to hear that constant through all the teachings, through all the different, mentors and coaches throughout any entrepreneurial business in general, is attitude. Attitude is so big, and we have a special guest that's going to cover that later. But I want to make sure that you really, really hone in that, again, you can't control you getting rained on. And some people may love the rain, some people may not. But if you have that umbrella and you're like, hey, I'm not getting rained on, what a beautiful day. This is how the grass and the plants get greener. Or you could be like, oh, what a horrible, ugly day. I'm not going to go outside. It's not a great day for sales, right? Or the way you look at it with perception is big when you're thinking about your attitude. Next is association. Of course, this came up in many of our teachings, but I'm going to keep hammering it all around, because your associations, you do have somewhat of a control over, especially when you're using your attitude towards, associating with certain people, not even people as well, association with certain advice and information. So association, what are you associating with? And then action, right? Whether you do something or not, the controllables versus the uncontrollables. Again, this is a nice reminder, but you want to be sure that you dial up and you're listening to what is going to help you most in your business, help you most with your service, help you most with your people. And again, I know sounds so redundant and it's so repetitive, but there's so many thoughts that go in your mind daily. 10,000 thoughts, 10,000 decisions, 10,000 directions in just from morning to night. And you want to do your best to make sure that you're taking the actions, like we said in a prior episode, doing fewer things that matter most, right? Doing fewer things that matter most instead of just taking action on here and there, and really prioritize your time because you can control that. So uncontrollables versus controllables versus uncontrollables. Now, this is a really nice topic. You hear it all the time, but I want to dive deep into it. You hear timing, positioning, right? Timing and positioning. Timing and positioning. You hear that all the time. Timing and positioning. Well, what does that really, really mean? And are you taking advantage of it? And then last, but even the most important, is people. So timing, right? Timing for you, timing for them. Timing for the trend. Positioning. Are you in position to take advantage of that time? Well, that depends, right? It has a lot of different things that can go into that. And then again, going back to the association, attitude, and action. Are you in for the people? Are you around the right people to take advantage of that timing and positioning? Great example, right? Well, we just had this prior project with GPS. We know the timing was amazing. We were early, but in whose time, right? We were early. Positioning, we were in a great position. We had the great people. But going back to that timing, are we willing to wait that time until it happens? Great example is we were just talking about the trades, right? Trading. You could have a quick trade, right? Or in real estate, sell a quick house. But some things, most things that are worth having, worth enjoying, take time. And understanding that expectations of that timing. Maybe you're asking somebody to see your business. Maybe you're asking somebody to take in part of one of your services or great products. Is it their timing or your timing? Are they in position? Are you in position? And are they the right people? And are you surrounding them with the right people? Or are you surrounding yourself with the right people? To just really look at that is awareness, being alert, being aware. What timing are you in to what you're trying to accomplish? Perspective is real big, right? You want to make sure that you have great perspective. And, this is what I was told. Answers, broaden people, or, sometimes deepen people, but questions really deepen and broaden people. So when you ask questions, you can get a better perspective, especially where they're coming from. And we'll cover that a little bit further later. And connection. This one's big, and we're going to cover that later as well. But when you can connect with people where their timing is at, where their positioning is at, you will find the most success. And then it becomes enjoyable because you have a better understanding of where their timing and positioning is at and where your timing and positioning is at. So again, I know you guys hear that all the time, but it's really important to know that when you're prospecting, when you're acquiring a customer, when you're learning, when you're growing with other people in your team, keep this in mind, because where you're at necessarily ain't where they're at, and where they're at is not necessarily where you're at. And some of that just can't be, sped up. Like, it has to be processed. The experience has to be gained, and things have to be understood and learned. So that's big. Now, you guys hear the AQ, right? The adaptation quotation. And this is going to be very, very big. Adaptation is huge in business. I love this quote: "The strongest nor the smartest will survive, but the one who's the most willing to adapt." Right? Think about that. Think about that really in your life. Whenever you have succeeded, you may not have been the best candidate. You may not have been the most qualified. You may not have been the strongest or the fastest in that race or in that sport. But there was a different willpower and willing to no quit attitude to adapt. And when the 1% is spoken of, they're different. They do different. The masses and the majorities normally all, like, a school of fish. They follow each other. They go one direction. But then you got the different people that think different. As we studied in the last episode, right? The Wright brothers, they said, we want to fly. Think about Thomas Edison. He's like, experiencing with electricity. Right? So the different in entrepreneurship, you have to have a system. You want to have a process. You want to obviously copy and paste, especially in our industry with direct sales, but you want to think different. And you already do, because you're in this industry, and if you've stayed long enough, you understand that you are different and everyone is different. But adaptation is so important. And I have a special guest that I want to share, and we're gonna share here in a moment. I want to mute myself, and I'm going to mute my video. This is Dr. Miles Monroe. And I heard this message about 3.5 years ago. And a lot of the things you hear, a lot of the things you've heard in personal development is big time. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play this audio. You guys can close your eyes and listen to it, but I want you guys to take notes during this. And anything that hits you, right? Anything that hits you, we'll discuss it at the end, but I want you guys to listen very, very deeply. Dr. Miles Monroe, and some of you may have heard this, hopefully you haven't, this will be your first time. If not, you'll be able to review this, but this message is big time. So I want you guys to take a deep breath with me. I'm engaging them. Open your mind and say, I am gonna grow, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna grow, I'm gonna learn. Now we're gonna turn up Dr. Miles Monroe here. Appreciate you guys as he shares developing leaders.
The 10 attitudes for leadership development. Leaders are very unique people. They have a very simple distinction, and that is their thinking is different. Leaders do not think like followers. Leaders used to be followers, all of them. If you want to be an impactful personality, you have to develop certain types of thinking and perceptions that change the way you see yourself and see the world. I call this the spirit of leadership. Now, there are only 2 animals on the planet that the Creator identified himself with. I've read hundreds of books, and that's my commitment. For the last 20 years, I've been reading 4 books a month. And that gives you an idea of how much reading I do. Because if you're going to become influenced in the world, you have to be a reader. And when I read the Bible, I was shocked to find that there are 2 animals that the Creator identified himself with. The first one is the eagle, and the second animal is the lion. And when I identified those 2 animals as his favorite to identify himself with, I recognized I better study these 2 animals, because if he is the leader of the universe and I want to be a leader on earth, I better find out the nature of these animals and also the attitude of these animals. And I discovered that both of them are the kings of their domain. The eagle is the king of the bird kingdom, and the lion is the king of the animal kingdom. Well, I want to talk about the lion today, even though I can do a session on the eagle, which is very important. But let's talk a little bit about the lion. The lion has what I call the spirit of leadership. And this word spirit here is referring to attitude. A leader has an attitude that makes him or her different from followers. And the lion exhibits that attitude. We have to cultivate the same attitudes that the lion has, because the lion apparently has been given the same attitudes that God himself identifies with, and he put it in these creatures. And apparently you and I are supposed to be the king of the animal kingdom, the rulers of all animals. So obviously we have somewhere trapped on the inside these same potential attitudes. Now, the lion is the king of the jungle, but the lion to me is a great source of encouragement to all of us. Number 1, the lion is not the tallest animal in the jungle. Number 2, the lion is not the largest animal in the jungle. Number 3, the lion is not the heaviest animal in the jungle. Number 4, the lion is not the smartest animal or the most intelligent animal in the jungle. And yet, the lion is the king. You don't need to be intelligent. You don't need to be smart. You don't need to have a certain height. You don't need to have a certain weight. You don't need to have any kind of advantage. And yet you can be the leader. Now, what's the main thing that shocks me about the lion is that the lion is not larger than the giraffe, bigger than the elephant, or heavier than the hippo. He's not as smart as the hyena or the snake. And yet, when he shows up, they all run away. The lion, therefore, cancels all of your excuses for not becoming a leader. What makes the lion so unique? An army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions led by a sheep, because leadership can transform cowards into violent warriors. Why would a lion become the king of the jungle when he has all of those limitations? He's not the tallest, not the strongest, not the smartest, not the heaviest, not the most intelligent, but yet he runs things. The lion is the king of the jungle because of one word: attitude. The lion has a different attitude that makes every animal afraid of him. Now, we don't want to lead by fear, but it does take respect for you to become a leader. When I use the word fear in the jungle, we're talking about respect. The elephant respects the lion. The hyenas respect the lion. The giraffes, they respect the lion. What makes these massive animals respect such a small cat? The attitude is the difference. For example, a lion will see an elephant, and the thing that comes to his mind, one word: lunch. Now, the elephant is 10 times the size of the lion, probably 50 times heavier, and has more power. One stomp of his feet could destroy the lion. But when the lion sees the elephant, he doesn't look at size and weight and strength and power. He looks at lunch. I could eat this thing. And he acts the way he thinks. You see, the size is not the problem. The weight of the elephant is not his concern. What makes him act is the way he thinks. And because he thinks he can eat the elephant, he attacks him. Leadership attitude. Now, here's another amazing mystery. The elephant is larger, bigger, stronger, more powerful, heavier, and more intelligent. And yet, when the elephant sees the lion, one word comes to mind: eater. The elephant is controlled by the way he thinks. He thinks that he is lunch. Therefore, his size, his weight, his power, his might, his authority is a victim of the way he thinks. It doesn't matter how big you are, how intelligent you are, how many degrees you get. It's your mind that keeps you small. And it doesn't matter how small you are, or how unintelligent you may seem to be, or how much you don't have. It's your mind that makes you the leader. Attitude. The difference between a leader and a follower is attitude. Why? Because it is unique attitudes that distinguish leaders from followers. They think differently. And that's because attitudes produce certain behaviors. And those behaviors stretch the leader beyond the limitations of the norm. In other words, it is the thinking of the person that makes them see circumstances differently. How do you think? Write this down. Attitude is a product of belief. This is very important to develop your leadership. Attitude is a product of belief. You cannot have an attitude beyond your belief. So your attitude comes from your belief system. The lion is the king because of what he believes about himself and what he believes about the elephant and the giraffe. He believes that they are lunch, and he believes he can eat them. His belief system controls the whole situation when they meet. I was born in a house on 4 rocks, 2 bedrooms, 11 kids, 1 mother, 1 father. 1 bedroom for my mom and dad, the other for my 7 sisters. And of course, the boys had to find somewhere to sleep. I remember sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I remember sleeping on one time on a mat, and that sheet never kept the mosquitoes out. All around me was poverty, but we didn't know that because everybody was poor. The only way you know you're poor is when you meet a rich person. And there I was, sleeping on the floor. Wonderful family. They loved me. We loved one another. My parents loved us. We loved them. We had a great family. But we didn't have much. And every opportunity was around me to think negative. I was on the other side with alcoholics all over the place. And I remember my mother and father would tell us things to fix our belief system. They would say, you can do anything you want to do, son. And they said that when I was sleeping on the floor. They were working on my belief system. And then they taught us the Bible. Now, I don't know about you and your belief about the Bible made me what I am today, so don't you talk bad about the Bible. And if you don't believe in the Bible, that's okay. I'm doing just fine, believe me. And the Bible helped me become what I am. But it was that book that checked my thinking. Ephesians 3 verse 20. Don't you laugh at the Bible. The verse said, now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above, far beyond all you can ever ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that worketh within you. I went from an F student to an A student in one semester because of my belief system. I graduated head boy. It was my what? Belief system. No one can live beyond the limits of their belief. So if you want to live beyond what you're living now, you have to change your belief system. Leaders are born when you have the discovery of a new belief system. The secret to anyone rising is what happens in their belief system. Your life is what you think it should be. That's exactly what you are right now. You are what you thought you should be. And if you don't like who you are, you got to change what you think you should be. That's how leaders are born. No amount of training in leadership skills or management methods or titles, no amount of promotion or associations with rich people or smart people can ever substitute for the right attitude. No substitute for it. As a matter of fact, your leadership development is determined by, number one, your perception of who you are. Number two, by why you think you exist. And number three, these are very important, your sense of significance. I am giving you my secret to life right here. What brought me from the floor to flying my own jet is these simple statements here. You got to first change your perception of who you are. And that starts with a belief system. Secondly, you must change your perception of why you think you exist. And number three, your sense of significance. Your perception of who you are. You've got to change it. And most of our perceptions are other people's concepts of us, and therefore we don't have self-concept, we got other concept. What is your perception of who you are? And the second one, why do you think you exist? You got to discover that you were born for something, some reason. There's some purpose for your life. If you don't discover that, you'll always have a job, and we'll bury you in an average grave with an average tombstone. Discover that you are important to the human race, you are important to the world, you are important to your universe. When I had to grapple with that question, it was tough, because I've been taught by society, like you have, that you are just a social security number or some NIB number, or you're some just kind of a worker in the system. But that's not true. You were born to do something very significant in the world, and you have to get to the point where you believe that. Cultivating these attitudes are the key to becoming a leader. Now, when attitudes of leadership is married to the ability of leadership, then you become a leader. You can have potential, but if you don't have the belief, your potential becomes a victim of your present belief. Remember the elephant? The elephant has great power, but what makes him afraid of the lion is his belief system. So your mentality has to be equal to your ability for you to manifest leadership. You do have the ability, you were born with it to be a leader, but your mentality hasn't matched it yet. And that's why all of your capacity to lead is buried under your lack of belief that you can. Belief is so powerful, it can make an elephant act like a sheep in the presence of a lion. You know, normally people who are insecure, whenever they meet somebody who is confident, they always call the confident arrogant. When you discover who you are, you can't help but be confident. I don't pretend, I don't try to have confidence. If you try, that means you ain't got it. You're faking it. Confidence is a product of belief. What you believe about yourself determines the way you think about yourself, and the way you think about yourself is the way you behave. And you behave bold and confident and fearless because there's some things you discovered about you and about life that makes life change a perception. You can never fully carry out the mandate of leadership if you don't have the mentality of leadership. And that's what this session is about. It's about mentality. As a matter of fact, integrating attitude and attributes and aptitude and altitude produces leadership. That's a lot of apps there. Because each one of them is a different experience for leaders. First of all, your attitude got to be right. Then you must marry that to attributes. That means gifts you were born with. Then you got to marry that to aptitude. That means now you got to educate and train those gifts. That's why you read and study and go to school, for your aptitude to be increased. And then Your altitude means you got to change the level of associations you are in. You know, it's amazing. When you change your aptitude, you normally want to change your altitude. Leaders choose their friends based on their destination. And one of the keys to developing leadership is you have to appreciate the fact that no one is responsible for your life except you. I had to take charge of my life as a teenager. And at age 13, I discovered who I was. I became a problem to the whole family. My mom used to say to me, she'd say, you are a different boy. You are a different child. But something happened to me at age 13. I discovered myself. Different was simply meaning you don't think like the rest of the kids. That's all it means. And remember, thinking is belief system being exposed. And therefore I married my attitude and my attributes, and my aptitude changed, and I began to study for a different reason. And suddenly my altitude changed. I started attracting different types of friends. And by the way, you know, when an eagle, this is the other animal that God identified himself with. I studied eagles intensely. I got a whole series on eagles because you must study to understand life. And I discovered what eagles, they said eagles can fly up to 3 to 4 miles in the sky. That's almost high as some jet planes. And do you know that when an eagle is flying at top flight, they say that if an eagle meets another bird in top flight, it has to be another eagle, because they're the only birds that can fly at that altitude. So here's a thought to take back to work with you. If you keep running into pigeons and ducks and tobacco doves, you are flying too low. Do you know what a pigeon is? Eagles never flock. You only find them one at a time. So if you keep attracting a gang of people around you at work, everybody want to bring gossip to you, you know, cackling, duck, you are in bad company. That's why I really want you to give yourself a big hand today, because to come here, you must be an eagle. You left the pigeons back at the office. Well, why are you going down there? Who do you think they are? They can't teach you nothing. Hey, that's a chicken talking. And they only fly when they're frightened. If you're going to be a leader, you got to be careful who you fly with. People who criticize got time for it. And that's why I ignore them. I ignore my critics because they got time for it. I'm too busy. I'm too busy succeeding. I'm giving them something to criticize. The greatest revenge in life, they say, is success. It's not ability, it's mentality that makes a leader. And that hippopotamus has power. They got ability, strength, size. They got might, they got ability. What they lack is mentality. The lion got a different mentality, so he eats them for lunch. What you think is more important than what you do. And so if you want to change, you got to work on this attitude bit. There's my conference people again. Here's my philosophy. My philosophy is this: trapped in every follower is a hidden leader. Trapped in every follower is a hidden leader. Therefore, the goal of true leadership is to release the hidden leader in the followers. If you are a true leader in your department or in your company supervisory position, if you are a true leader as a pastor or maybe as a manager in some company, your greatest example of leadership is production of leaders. True leaders do not maintain followers, they produce leaders. True leadership focuses on producing leaders, not followers. In other words, a true leader begins to train people under their care immediately to take leadership. The capacity to lead is in every human being, and leadership is like a tree trapped in a seed. And every one of you that walked through that door today is a seed that was sent to the planet to produce a tree to serve the world your fruit. That's why you were born. And deep inside of you is a person no one knows yet. And what you've done so far is just initiation process. That's why no one should cancel you yet, because you ain't quite come out yet. Leadership manifestation requires the right environment. You know, a seed can be placed on a windowsill in your tiled bathroom and stay there for 50 years and the tree never come out. Even though the seed has a tree and a forest in it, it is a victim of the environment. If you can just get that seed off that windowsill and put it in soil with a little bit of water, here comes the future. That's the way life is. You are no different from a seed. I get stacks of CDs that I buy, you know, Les Brown and Tim Reb and all the others, and I put them in my car. And when I'm driving, every time I sit in my car, I'm feeding my seed constantly. Even the music you listen to, got to be careful. It can be poison to your germination of your seed. The next time someone says they want to get to know you, ask them, are you fertilizer or rock? There are some folks in your life right now who are very toxic. They will pollute your seed. You'll never come out. Have you noticed that people who ain't going nowhere want you to go with them? Folks who ain't doing nothing in life want you to do it with them. This is why you got to break away from your best friends sometime to become better. You outgrow people, so know when to leave. If they keep asking you questions, it's time to go. Be with people who you can ask questions. That's how you grow. True attitude is manifested in attitude. And what I mean by that is when you discover leadership, it comes out in your attitude. An attitude must be a product of your belief system. Everybody in here have attitude. Everybody. What's about the leadership attitude? There are two types of concepts. The first one is the leadership spirit and the spirit of leadership. Two different concepts. The leadership spirit is what you were born with. Your ability, you never receive it, you came with it. But your ability that you were born with is trapped by the mentality that they gave you from your culture. This is why to be great, you got to divorce yourself from your traditions and your culture. Because convention makes no room for creativity. It doesn't allow you to believe beyond the norm. Matter of fact, they want you to fit in, not stand out. So society is all worked out, it's all designed for you to behave yourself. You're trained to limit yourself. Isn't it amazing that you buy a car that can travel 150 miles per hour, 180 miles per hour, and then the same country that sells the car to you puts up a sign, 50. No, you never thought about that. That's the problem. Yeah, see, Ford Motor Company makes the car to make 180, and then they make sure you only can travel 50. Society is designed to make sure you never become a leader. And that's why for you to become a leader in your workplace, you're going to have to break away from the traditions. Now, I want to warn you, when you decide to break the speed limit, all your enemies will wake up in the office. Every critic that you thought was your friend will suddenly come alive because people don't want you to leave them in their nothingness. You can't lead from behind. That's why sheep are not leaders. They follow the sheep hips in front of them. But when you're out front, ain't no hip to follow. You got to design your course. And that takes boldness and risk. It takes all kinds of challenging commitment to decide where you want to go in life out front. Having the leadership spirit means that you are naturally created to lead, but the mentality is what wakes it up. Some of you in this room look just like that. You are powerful, but they got you in the bush. The social environment is just making you afraid to come out and take what's yours in life. You are the way you see yourself. Do you think you're a grasshopper? The elephant actually thinks it's a meal for a cat. The mindset of a leader is what changes his attitude toward life and himself. The spirit of leadership refers to attitudes, mentality, and mindset. And that's been the key to all great leaders. And sometimes that spirit comes forth under pressure. Many leaders in history are products of circumstances that force them to think differently. That's what makes them emerge as leaders. The spirit of leadership is a mindset. It dictates your motivation. It is revealed in your response to your environment. The spirit of leadership is a perception of yourself and the world. How do you see the world? The spirit of leadership is your convictions that regulate your thoughts about yourself and people. The spirit of leadership is your personal private philosophy of life, how you think about life and yourself. The spirit of leadership is your thoughts about oneself and one's environment. It is your belief system which controls your behavior. The spirit of leadership is the source of your action which determines the response and how you interpret the world. This is very important. I see the world differently from most people because of my belief system, which becomes my attitude creator. So I don't panic over nothing. I don't panic. Panic is a product of a certain belief system, and therefore it is your mental conditioning. Success keeps the right company all the time. You have to nurture yourself so that you can produce the right attitudes. And nurture means to feed yourself the right information. We are what we think, and we become what we continue to think. You tell your kids, go read the book, go read your homework, and then you watch TV. They're confused. Your kids will value what you value. If you value TV, they're gonna hate books. If they watch you always reading books, they're gonna turn the TV off, because whatever mom and dad values and mom and dad are doing well, that must be what we should do too. So our kids fell in love with books. My house is full of books. I'm beginning to run out of the house because you become what you think. You cannot rise above the plane of your mental conditioning. So I got to constantly keep feeding my mentality. I have to work on it so I can work up my altitude of mentality. To change your life, you must change your mind. And this is why the heart of leadership is working on the way a person thinks. Here's the most important thing to write down. 7 principles of true leadership. Number 1, true leadership is inherent in the human spirit. You have to believe that first. Every human being possesses the capacity to be a leader. Whether they die as a follower is a choice. Number 2, true leadership cannot be taught. It must be discovered. Number 3, true leadership is self-discovery. And number 4, true leadership is serving your gift to the world. Everyone in this room was born with a specific gift. Some of you got 2 of them. Don't try and develop all of your gifts. Focus on one. Make it your primary gift. And then refine it. And then serve it to the world. It is your gift that makes you valuable. And serving it is your responsibility. And the better you serve your gift, the greater leadership you achieve. So whoever can serve that gift more effectively, they become the greatest in the group. No one came to earth without a gift. The problem is we try to take other people's gifts and make them ours. If you become an imitation, you're going to be broke. You need to find your gift, your strength, your unique power. And you need to take that and say, I'm going to become this. And then serve it to the world. And that's your leadership born that day. We've all been taught to be employed, not deployed. And so they always tell you, go to school, get an education so you can get a job. They never say stay in school so you can own a business. They don't even think that way. It doesn't even cross, your parents don't even think that way. And so you follow the convention of the community. And I'll never forget the meeting when I went to Malaysia to speak. I was speaking at the largest Sony plant. I had 2 days with them. The first day I spoke to all the managers, all the CEOs. I was the speaker to train them. There was Chinese and Japanese and Singaporeans. All these folks were there in Malaysia working for Sony. And I had to do training there for management development and leadership training for the whole day. The third day, the president of that particular firm called me up and he says, our CEOs and our executives are so impressed by you, we want to take you for lunch. We want to talk to you some more. And they were picking my brain, man. They were taking notes, asking me questions, keep writing stuff. And all of a sudden it hit me, wait a minute. All these guys are millionaires, man. Every Chinaman I know owns a business. And here I am in the heart of Asia, where they come from. And I said, sir, pardon me, I have a question that I need you to answer. And they looked at me. I said, tell me, how come everywhere you go, no matter where it is, you go to the lowest ghetto in the heart of the township, and you end up owning a business? Can you tell me what is your secret? And they looked at each other and they laughed. And then the president said to me, he said, well, we've been noticing that ourselves. We have concluded, based on our assessment, that whenever you go into a community, the first thing you look for is a job. He says, when we come into any community, the first thing we look for is a business. He said, it's attitude. They don't even look for a job. They don't even think about employment. They think deployment. As a man thinketh, So he becomes. So I said to the guy, I said, excuse me, so when you go into a town or any country, so what do you do until you get a business? He says, any employment we have is always temporary. We only want enough money to start a business, that's all. Mentality. Number 6, true leadership is self-manifestation. You become a leader when you discover who you are and decide to become it. True leadership is self-manifestation. Your leadership is not ahead of you, it's trapped within you. You are so great, it's amazing. But the environment won't allow you to become it. Sometimes our past can hold us back. Mentality just don't allow you to step out and take a risk. What you're doing now, it's not what you could do. Whatever you're impressed with, God's disappointed in. Stop waiting for everything to show up before you start. Every leader, I tell you the truth, every leader ain't know what they doing. Me included, we don't know what we're doing. We just say, I got this idea, I'm gonna go for it. And for heaven's sake, believe me, we ain't got no money. What I mean is for our projects. Because you are not a leader unless you're doing something you cannot pay for. I say you are not a leader unless you are doing something you cannot pay for. Leadership demands that you got to take risks. And number 7, leadership is self-exposure. When you expose your true self, get ready. People won't understand you, but go for it. Let us meet you before you die. Not the one the culture made, not the one society produced, the one that's on the inside that we have yet to meet. The true self. This is why I keep telling people you got to die empty. And I want to give you these, what I call the 5 questions of life that you have to answer to become a leader. Number 1, who am I? Number 2, where am I from? Number 3, why am I here? Number 4, what can I do? And number 5, where am I going? These are the most important questions in life, and until you answer them, you will always be a follower. Who am I has to do with identity. You got to discover who you are apart from 6.7 billion people. Number 2, where am I from has to do with your heritage. And I'm not talking about your ethnicity, because your ethnic heritage is so confusing. Don't try to find yourself by going back in your ethnicity. You'll never find out where you're from. Why am I here is a question of purpose. You got to discover why you were sent to the planet. Where am I going is a question of destiny. And what can I do is a question of potential. And therefore, when you discover these answers, you've discovered your leadership. I know who I am. I didn't always, but I found out who I was. And secondly, I know where I came from. And I didn't come from the Bahamas. I didn't come from Africa, because both of them are limiting. All cultures limit you. I had to come from something greater. My greatest mentor in history in my life is Jesus Christ. And one time they asked him, where are you from? You know what his answer was? He didn't say I came from Bethlehem, grew up in Nazareth, and had friends in Capernaum. His answer was, I came down from heaven. They said, no, we know your mother, she's Mary, and your daddy Joe. He says, no, I came down from heaven. He refused to have his heritage limited to earth, and so am I. Me, I came through Baintown. I didn't come from Baintown. I came through the Bahamas. I didn't come from the Bahamas. Wherever you came from can limit you or give you unlimited thinking. I said the reason why they call Africa Mother Africa is because you never get your heritage from your mother. That's why you carry your father's name. The seed of your identity comes from your father. I came down from my father through the mother. That makes me limitless. I'm just like my daddy. All things are possible with my father. True leadership is not a method nor a technique. True leadership is an attitude. When I discovered that I came out of God, not out of the Bahamas, suddenly the Bahamas became too small for me. So today we have effects in 90 countries right from this island, because the mentality that was developed here goes beyond this entire region. Don't let where you came from physically trap you. Don't let your ethnic heritage become your graveyard. Stop being black and white and yellow and stuff. Forget that stuff. That's too limiting. Become like your father. Be a man. It's a spirit being. There's no limit. Everything you know is not all there is to know. Beliefs and convictions of a leader regulates the nature of their leadership, and therefore the source of beliefs is the perception of your truth. What is truth to you determines what you do with your life. Whatever you think is truth, that's how you're going to live. That's why it's important to keep getting information.
All right. I know that was really lengthy, everyone, but I tell you not, and because we have an open course setting, it was one of the most powerful things that stuck with me. And if any of you know me or have trained with me, a lot of those key moments and segments, and this is why I wanted it recorded so you can revisit it. And I will definitely give you the link and the name of Dr. Miles Monroe, of course, that you can revisit. But it was one of the most powerful um, segments that really carried on a lot of things that you hear us say that really inspire us. But I mean, it just hits a lot of stuff on the nail that we cover. Again, I apologize for it lengthening because we're in a group setting. We get the chance to study. Normally, we'd be together and watching that. But again, it's still such a powerful segment to revisit. Now, I could recover and rediscuss so many of those great moments and key points, but I highly recommend, since it's recorded, rewind it, replay it, revisit where you need to. So I want to dive in a few more things and we'll wrap up in discussion, but I want to go, action setting. You guys always hear about goal setting and planning, action setting. Evaluate what's the most needle moving action you can do for the day, week, month, but the day. Value, what will give you and get you the highest return towards achieving your goal. Execution, what is the most effective, efficient process to execute that action, right? You want to be efficient, not just execute and act and act and act, but of course you learn as you do that. Sustainability, going back to the habits in the prior episode, is this something that can be done consistently? You got to make sure that this is something that you're passionate about. That the days that you don't feel like doing it, or the days that you're not inspired or motivated personally, you can still stay on course, stay on track, and execute that. And then I will say this, you are your biggest critic. Remember, you will always be your toughest critic. The key is progress, not perfection. To take the action and see the transformation over time will help you build that momentum and confidence, and you'll get gradually better. You will gradually get better. This is a little quotation that I use all the time. Use the past as a sign, act now, because now's the time, but think, as Dr. Miles Monroe said, with the end in mind. You think. So use the past as a sign. Don't live in the past. You guys have heard this. You can't drive looking backwards using your rearview mirror, but where's the sign belong? A sign on the street belongs in front of you. So use that as a sign so you know to make less mistakes or learn from the mistakes. Now, of course, now is the time, and then think with the end in mind. Just because you're at a certain position in, your current condition or current space doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? Now, moving forward, I love this one. So if you are gaining prospects, gaining momentum, I call this Project Help. This was something that really, 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 you guys ever heard that take the weight off of you? And if you're frustrated or you feel like you got a wall, it always is easier to help someone else that needs it more. Well, in a business of direct sales and entrepreneurship, same thing, Project Help. Who? Pick somebody, pick a project. What? What do they want to achieve? When? Give them a timeline, say, hey, you want to get this done in a week, month, year, what's your goals? As you guys heard on the founder call a week ago, right? You want to make sure you set the expectations, but you also want to say, in order to achieve this, the what, this is the timeline we need. And how, obviously the action plan and the execution. I love the Project Help because when you are achieving your goals and you're working with someone, that's big time. I mean, you will find more joy and more significance and more purpose. And you, like you guys hear all the time, I'm about to cover here, you want to serve. So moving into this, people skills. How are you going to do Project Help? And as you heard in the first episode, right, people skills, humble and hungry. Well, let's dive into people skills, because some of us have great skills. Some of us, are developing them. Some of us, in fact, let's be very honest, all of us can get better, especially when it comes to people and communication. Number one, empathy. Not enough in this day and age, in the workforce anyways, and even in businesses, is empathy expressed. You hear someone, we'll just use a job reference, come into the work force or the kitchen or the employment, and they're like, your numbers are down, you're not executing, and they get they get hammered, instead of saying, hey, your numbers are down, What's going on? Are you okay? And it's not to be the shoulder to cry on, and it's not trying to, really, really like, I guess you would say damper them, but you really, really want to come from a space where you don't know if they just lost someone in their life. You don't know if they're going through some traumatic trauma, craziness, chaoticness, especially with what is going on in every angle of what's going on in everyone's life. Empathy is huge. When you're using people skills, you want to be empathetic. Now, not pathetic, right? You don't want to be, oh, it's going to be okay. No, no, no. True intentional empathy. Next, relatability. Earlier in the slide, we talked about connection. This one's powerful, and knowing how to use and leverage other relationships that may be able to connect and relate. This is one of the biggest overlooked skills, I think, in our industry, because the ego gets involved, the character gets involved, because what you can provide might not be as essential or fruitful to the person you're talking to as someone else. And that's where, as Dr. Miles Monroe just mentioned, everyone has a gift. Make sure you're utilizing your team, yourself's gifts properly. So be able to relate and connect, right? We have so many great skilled professionals and different people that come from all different walks of life and experience. Use those and use them to their best ability. Communication. This one's big. To me, obviously, when it comes to people, communication is number one. The word communication derived from communis, which means common, which consequently implies that sharing a common understanding. Now, why I put this up, obviously you all know what communication is, but break it down. Common sense is not common. People understanding other people is not that common. Communication used in your words, in your language, right? Your language might sound great to the interpreter or to the acceptor, the receiver might sound foreign. So language, and this is, we cover it in so many different ways and so many different shades. If you're new to this channel or to this team, you may have heard a little bit or maybe not even heard any of this, but the 4 animal types, right? The dolphin, the shark, the urchin, the whale, the banco, the red, blue card, yellow card, green card. But what's even crazier and even deeper is people don't understand language also can come in a type of product, service, process, development. So you want to understand and learn the languages of the people that you want to attract. Very, 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 very important, because I know I've said this before, but we all see everything from our eyes. It's all in our world. Now, egotistically, I mean that in a real humbly spoken way, but you see the world the way you see it. You do your best to try and see it from their seat. So when you're communicating and you're using different languages to say a serve a product, service, development, even process, even helping people, you do your best to see what language they're talking about. And you may not even be attractive to you. So you also see that, you be aware and alert. Integrity. This one's big with a lot of us. You know this from our heart. If you say what you do, do what you say. Be a person of your action and your words. This is huge, right? You learn to gain trust and influence, the key, right? Of what you do by your actions and what you say and what you say and what you do, but you also lose it. So it builds the trust and the influence when you continue to say what you do and do what you say. Very, very key. Influence, again, the higher and greater influence you have, the more you get out of your organization, people, and key, and most importantly, yourself, right? The highest integrity you keep for yourself, because if you're operating about your influence to yourself, you can then attract that type of influence you like. So influence is big. I mean, this is big right here. What you get is what you can give, and what you can give is what you get. Let me say that again. What you get, right? What you get out of life, what you get out of helping people, what you get out of doing business is what you can give. And what you can give then in return is what you get. So if you're getting frustrated or you're getting, stuck or you're getting nowhere, right? It's probably because you either haven't seen the gift that you possess to give or what you have, or you have to get better and you have to get more out of you so you can give more, right? You've heard this so many times, Mr. Jim Rohn, the legend, service to many leads to greatness. And This is huge when it comes to people skills. So I want you guys to understand that we're in a people business and it's very important. Maximizing your opportunity. Real simple. Learn, do, achieve, and then teach and duplicate. Right? Some of us are in the learning stage. Some of us are in the doing stage. Some of us have achieved, and that's great. But like he said, what great is your gift if you can't reshare it, if you can't teach? And that's how you want to develop more leaders. You want to inspire others to do better than you. I will constantly say that. That is a key point. You want to do that. But learn, do, achieve, and then teach. Maximizing your opportunity is really doing those things. Now I have a call to action for everyone, especially watching this or doing this call. I want you to hashtag focus someone that you're going to do something. Tell them what you're going to do after the hashtag focus. And I want you to hold accountable for the next month. Something by the end of your night, you hit your pillow on your head. I want you to, and it could be anything, but I want you to we're going to work on one of those key assets in the last slide of integrity. I want you to hold your word to it. Now, if you're not quite ready, or if you haven't quite decided, decide. But I want you to put hashtag focus. And I want you to hashtag focus of what you're going to do for the next 30 days. And after that 30 days, I want you to say hashtag done. And the reason why is we want to follow one course until success, but we want to help you develop habits. And I told you this course is going to be an action-oriented course. So I want you to pick someone that can truly hold you accountable, someone that you really look up to, and something that you want completed in the next 30 days. Obviously, I want you to shoot big, but if it's something small you want to start with, that's fine. But hashtag focus, call to action. Please do this because I want you guys to be working on your people skills, but working on your internal self of getting something done. And it could be something small, right? We're going to work on your habits. We're going to work on your skills, but I want you to hashtag focus. And at the end of the 30 days, from this 30th day that you are seeing this information, at the end of those 30 days, I want to hashtag done. And I want you to stay on track. Follow one course until success. Now, you heard Dr. Miles Monroe. I heard this the other day again. First thing you want to do with your gift, first you want to do is discover it. Then you want to develop it and you want to distribute it. Discovering it and identifying can be hard. Developing it can be even harder. Distributing it can be hard, but that's the enjoyable part. No matter what stage you're at, remember this: discover, develop, and distribute. Now we're wrapping up here. Again, I thank you guys for your attention, but I want you guys also to remember when it comes to progress and it comes to goals, I have a little short video. This one's short. You want to always look at your improvement scale and your progression path. Destinations and great, goals, material things, achieving things, helping people is important. But again, always going back to this, I know it sounds so redundant, but you want to really be about the journey and celebrate your wins, celebrate your progression, because the potential and the possibilities lies there. It's the journey itself. It's the progression itself. It's the improvement, going from here, right, in the darkness, putting that seed and growing it and then being fruitful. So I have this short little, just to end this segment with a really powerful message from Darren Hardy. And the reason why I put it on there, because we were talking about adaptation. And it's always a great reminder when we reach success or we hit our goals. He calls this hedonic adaptation. It's a quick video by Mr. Darren Hardy, really short, and then we'll wrap this up.
Hedonic adaptation. This is Mother Nature's bait and switch trick on us. Achievements and accolades we think will make us happier don't, or at least not for long. Hedonic adaptation is our quick return to a base level of satisfaction no matter what happens to us in our life or what we achieve or what we accumulate. As David Myers wrote, every desirable experience, passionate love, spiritual high, the pleasure of a new possession, the exhilaration of success is transitory. So this is why, no matter your promotions, trophies, awards, paychecks, boats, houses, cars, clothes, shoes, purses, watches, and vacations, even though you try, and you try, and you try, you can't get no satisfaction. There is no cure for this. All you can do is lessen the grip that this evolutionary fetish has around your neck. And that is to, one, know. Know that this insatiable, never-ending feeling that you have is normal. And know that if you feel it, you are normal. Number two, know that while this evolutionary drive has given us an advantage, it can also now cause and create your mental and emotional disadvantage. You want your perpetual dissatisfaction to drive you, yes, drive you to strive, drive you to grow, drive you to go for better, but not destroy you. Discontent can get you out of bed. It can have you fired up and charging all throughout your day. It can push you past obstacles and setbacks and defeats to finally obtain the financial and lifestyle freedom you desire. But this perpetual discontent will also continue to drive you, having you start more projects, take on more risk and responsibility, increase your liability and obligations, and demand ever more of your time and attention. Now that you know these two very important things about our human species modus operandi, that you are normal when you feel perpetually dissatisfied, and it is good to use that to drive you to grow for better, and you will also have to govern yourself against it so that you don't make dumb decisions that have you screw up your life. So now, with this wisdom on board, now you can get you what you want and live the life that you were meant to live.
And I can tell you right now that you no matter how much you do and how much you succeed, like he had said it, sometimes you feel unsatisfied, no matter how big and large the goal and the destination is far and you arrive. And that is why this journey done together, as we grow together, as we learn together, and we pass on more information, is so powerful and is such a blessing. And that concludes our
Hedonic
episode
adaptation.
For Design a Diamond 3. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in, and that is a wrap.